Welcome to a world of mystery. A world so dark that you can barely see. A world where the macabre becomes a reality, and your reality becomes the strange and unusual. This is an October edition of the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Spooky Month Spooktacular. This is Cain Stevens Super Show for 1 month only. It's the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show once again. I have a super guest, maybe the superest guest that I've had thus far, to be honest with you, and I'm pretty pumped about it. I met this gentleman at the Villisca Ax Murder House, and he honestly might be one of the most famous people that I've interviewed so far. So believe it or not, so I've seen him on I've seen him, you've seen him on all sorts of ghost shows out there, from Paranormal Lockdown to Ghost Adventures. So let's give let's give an ovation for Johnny. How's it, Johnny? How are you, man?
Man, that's like the best intro I've ever had, I think, anywhere.
Right on, man. I know. I wish we all had hype men. You know what I mean? People who could hype us up everywhere we went.
Yeah, like when I go to work, I just need you on the mic going, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. You know, we can make that happen, man. I would love to be at the Villisca Ax house or wherever you work every day and hang out, man. But thank you for agreeing to be on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So you are kind of my you're not my first guest, but you're one of my major guests for my big October. I used to have the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show, but I kind of shifted it to this Cain Stevens Super Show where I just talk to everybody. You know, I'm basically the Oprah of Lincoln, Nebraska, so to speak, except for I have the money.
You get a prize. You get a prize. Everybody gets a prize.
That's it, man. I didn't tell you that I'm hiding a prize in your place somewhere too. You know, right?
It's under my seat right now.
Yeah. But man, you know, when I talked to you I took my wife and kids to a Villisca day trip. I've been there many times. And I was pretty excited because I went there with Trigger Objects because my wife is, and I don't know if you remember this or not, my wife is related to Donna Bentley, who has a pretty big tie to the whole thing, you know, with the suspects and everything else. You know, she brought some trigger letters and different things, hoping to get something. We kind of showed them to you. I mean, what do you make of all that, man? What do you think about Donna?
When you guys came and she said she was related to Donna, I'm just like, what? Like,
yeah,
it took me a second. And she showed me the letters, and I was honestly shaking.
Yeah,
like my hands were trembling. It's like Donna held this. Like it's such a huge part of the story,
right?
And like I still talk about it. I just told the overnights about it today as I'm checking them in. You know, it's been a weird season for day tours because right before you guys, we had a lady. She goes, "Yeah, I'm a direct descendant of one of the suspects."
Oh wow!
I'm like, "What?" She goes, she did the DNA ancestry swab, and it came up. If you have a family tree, it's going to show it on this website. Her great great grandpa was Henry Lee Moore, who killed his mom and grandma 2 months after this in Columbia, Missouri, with an axe. So from my point of view, I'm just like, what is happening this year?
Right.
You know, because there's the story. I mean, you had 5 years of gossip, 5 years of trying to figure out why this happened. One of the scenarios was JB had an affair with Donna, who was Jones at the time. And then to have direct relation, it's just like, wow. I remember just picking your wife's brain. I'm sure I was driving her crazy. It's like, what was she like? Did you know her? Do you know anything about her? Tell me anything.
What if I said, since I have quite a few of them, what if I said maybe I would donate one of them to you? Would you be interested in something like that?
That would be absolutely amazing. That would go in a glass case.
Yeah.
In the house for sure, or in the barn.
I think
Not sure.
I think I can make that happen, man. You know, I've got quite a few. I too was shaking when my father-in-law handed them to me because they know how excited I am about the paranormal and the
Yeah.
just the history. You know, I'm originally from Iowa, and just the whole Villisca thing is just fascinating, just in general. And it was just like I was shaking too, you know, and so they're laughing at me. So it's
Yeah.
fun to see other people's reactions like that.
And it's just like these would be nothing to anyone else.
Yeah,
You know, maybe like, oh, that's old great grandma's letter, you know, but it's
right.
so tied in with the history and it's her handwriting, her hands touched it, and just wow. You know, one of my good friends in Indiana is obsessed with Dona.
Mhm.
Like she wants to start a bar in Villisca and call it Dona's High Steppers. She's
Yeah,
like, I
right
just love
on.
Dona Jones. I love her. Everything about her. I just love this woman. Like there's
Yeah,
people obsessed with her.
yeah.
Like it's insane.
It's crazy when you read stuff online about her and they call her the town harlot and all this stuff and everything. It's like, man, that's rough, dude. Like give the lady a, you know, she's not around. Give the lady some peace. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody wants to be called the town harlot.
And I mean, what constitutes being a town harlot in 1912?
Right.
Talking to a person, having your shoulder exposed. You
Yeah,
know,
for
like
sure.
I guarantee she was a fun, wild woman who lived an awesome life and has a ton of stories. Like I want
Exactly.
to sit down and talk to her. Like she
She
would
was a
be
beautiful
fun.
lady too, you know. It's like, you know, oh, you're good, man.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good. I'm hoping that was like the president of the United States or something, you know,
It
something.
was an alarm that I had on my phone that I hit skip. Like,
No, but you know that I just she was a beautiful lady, and so that probably ruffled people's feathers in general. The fact, you
oh
know, a
yeah,
small town that, you know, maybe I can't say for sure. I don't live in Villisca, but maybe back then it was slim pickings on the hot chicks. You know, I don't know.
oh yeah, and like you know, we've all had girlfriends that have seen a quote good-looking girl walking down the street, and they're like, "Look at that slut," you
Yeah,
know. It's
exactly.
just be no reason behind it, but it's just that, you know.
Yeah,
Um, a good-looking girl in Villisca, of a town of not many, and guys like her, of course, other girls are going to have that perception of her. I think she was probably just a outspoken, beautiful young woman here in town that did what she wanted and lived free and was fiercely independent.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and another thing that would probably confuse people is when I say Donna Bentley. Donna Bentley was her, you know, her family name
Mm-hmm.
before every, you know, and that's where I have the tie to them is Donna, you know, is related to my wife's family, which is the Bentley family. So I mean, it's cool. I mean, I'm hoping that you know, I didn't know if the letters would be a good trigger item, but it can't hurt, right? If you want to go. I mean, not that I'm trying to like, I'm not a provoking type of guy with paranormal investigation, but I mean, a trigger item is something where you might bring out a reaction of some sort, some sort of, you know, response would be great, right?
Right, exactly. And of any, you know, a lot of people will bring teddy bears and balls as trigger objects, but a letter from Donna,
Yeah.
wow, like one in a million.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
that is insane. It made my like I'm still talking about it to people I see today. It's
Man, that's awesome. My
incredible.
wife became an instant celebrity in Villisca, Iowa in a matter of seconds, right?
Right, and Richard Estep, who's an author,
Yeah.
he's written I don't know how many books, countless books, happened to be there that day, and I'm like, Richard, she's related to Donna, and he's like, what? Can I go
Yeah.
talk to her? Which one? Point her out to me, and I'm like, that one over there. You know, I felt weird, but I mean, he was like in awe of her. You know,
Yeah.
it's like it's incredible when you're into the Villisca lore and history. That is such a character, such a pivotal character in the whole story.
Hmm. Well, this could be like a major plot line in like a movie. Like this could be the big reveal. Like, you know, the reason that I married her and everything was because I was always into the Villisca house, you know?
Right? Yeah, you stalked her from birth, and then you found
Yeah.
her. made her fall in
I
love
just
with
watched a
you.
movie like that where well, they're all like that really, but you know, a lot of it is like that. But you know, my wife's a beautiful lady, great lady. I'm lucky to have her. You know, I'm in awe of her, you know, in a lot of other ways, but it is very cool that she has a tie to that.
What if you're
Yeah,
a
now let's
director
talk
and
about
have
you
Albert
and the
Jones?
paranormal, man, because you literally are like when I watch ghost shows and stuff, I'm like, wait, that's Johnny. Like I've seen that guy. I've talked to that guy before. You seem to be in everything, man. How what the heck? What gives?
You know, it's such a weird story, and I kind of got to go way back to childhood because it all, as I look back, it's like puzzle pieces, you
Yeah.
know, that you and that just. So when I was a little baby, my mom, we lived in a farmhouse, and my mom was putting laundry away on the second story. She had the windows open. It was a nice summer day. Evidently, I crawled out the second story window and fell clear down. I can't imagine the horror in my mom's eyes. You know, she ran down, checked, like, oh my gosh. Goes outside. I'm fine. I don't even have a scratch on me.
Right.
They didn't even take me to the doctor, which is probably what's wrong with me today, you know.
For
But she
sure.
always said, "Oh, the angels were watching over you." Every house I have lived in, weird stuff has happened. And I've since gone back to all those houses, knocked at the door, and said, "Hey, I used to live here. Anything weird happen?" Which is super awkward to do. And
Mhm.
every one of them said, "No. It's like the most peaceful house we've ever lived in." So that's when I started to think there's haunted houses and there's haunted people.
Right.
My first job I ever had was filling in graves at a cemetery, like 14 years old, and that's 14-year-old brain scooping dirt, throwing it in, and watching it fall over a casket's pretty messed up, you
Yeah, that's pretty
know.
intense. Yeah.
Um, I ended up becoming a musician in Nashville for a little over 10 years. Got tired of that. Just like if my drummer slurps his pop one more time, I'm just going to blow my brains out, you know, like too much time. And nothing is more depressing than being in a hotel on a Sunday afternoon, thousands of miles away from home alone. Like that
Yeah.
just sucks, you
Yeah.
know. Met my now ex-wife, which sounds like a country song, in Des Moines. She wanted to move to Villisca, where her family was from. I was tired of that life, so I said, "Yeah, let's do it." I pick the brain of Darwin every day as he's working on the house because I was a big true crime nerd. He offered me a job, and pretty soon the TV shows started coming. But it's just like I worked my butt off in music forever, and we had marginal success, if that. I mean, you know, it's such a hard industry.
Yes, it is.
I I come here, I don't even try. TV show, TV show, TV show, TV show, TV show, and then I'm making friends with all the TV show people. It's like, hey, I live next door. Don't sit out here in the sweat. Go grab a beer, take a nap on my couch. I don't care, you know. So
Yeah.
I've just remained friends with them, and through that, it's like, hey, I'm doing this. Can I call you in on this? And it's just networking type of a thing, and without even trying, here's the paranormal stuff. So it's just like, this is what I'm supposed to do. You know, I just decided to go full weird with it. Like, here I am. This is what I'm doing. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing. You know, I'm super fortunate to when I wanted to learn about the paranormal, I had nobody to talk to except for these TV show people. So everything I've learned is from Ghost Adventures, Ghost Lab, Dead Files, Kindred Spirits, Destination Fear, you know, just on and on and on.
Mhm.
It's kind of like living in Haight Ashbury in the 60s. You're going to run into Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Grateful Dead. You're all going to be friends, you know. Being at the X House right when TAPS started. Right place, right time. It just all kind of fell together.
Yeah. Well, there's I don't think there's any such thing as what I want to say as a coincidence. I mean, I some of it is you just like with music. Being I'm a musician also. Some of it's just dumb luck, but some of it is just you just fall in with the right people at the right time. Man, it sounds like you had the right storm going on to let you break into the field hard.
I think the universe, the world, whatever, God will lead you to what you're supposed to be doing. You
Yep.
can try and resist the path and do your own thing, but you're going to be brought back to what your purpose is.
Yeah, absolutely.
For whatever reason, this is my purpose. Which, have you seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes, of course.
So where he's doing the essay on Loch Ness Monster, and he's like, scientists are placing explosives at the bottom of Loch Ness. I did that. Like, I did that exact thing in 7th grade, and everybody was laughing and thought I was such a dork. And, here I am.
Somebody saw that little speech you made and they capitalized on it, like this would be great for.
Yeah, such a nerd. But I had red sweatpants tucked into snakeskin cowboy boots with a fanny
Oh, man.
It's
Now that's a look.
It's a wonder I've ever kissed a girl in my life. Like, I
Did
was
you have a
such
rat
nerd.
tail also?
I never had a rat tail, but I had a mullet, a homemade mullet that I cut myself.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like, a lot of my friends that know me have known me my whole life. It's not a shock what I do. They're like,
Right.
Of course you are. Because one of the houses we lived in, stuff was happening constantly. And so I organized with my buddies at the school that didn't believe in ghosts, come stay the night with me. So I'm like organizing overnights at my house as a little kid, and they'd all run out there scared. They'd tell their friends more people would want to stay the night. So basically exactly what I do today at the Ax Murder House.
Yeah, exactly. And well, you've been to a lot of. I talked to you about some other locations as well. I know that you've been to Malvern Manor. I'm going to Malvern Manor with my investigation team in a couple of days from now. We're just going to do the day thing, but just stay there all day, and then we're going to get a feel for it and do a night. What do you feel about Malvern Manor? I mean, I saw you I watched your episode with Paranormal Lockdown last night, just kind of pre-gaming for this and that, and kill two birds with one stone. And it sounds like you've got a little bit of a history with Malvern Manor, as well as the Sallie house and Atchison, all these houses. But what do you think is going on at the Malvern Manor?
So with Malvern, how all that started for me personally, like, I knew of Josh Hurd. It's a small community. I interviewed for Brush with Evil 1 and 2 with him. I knew he's a filmmaker. It's like, cool, yeah, I'll interview, do this. I'll help you out. You help me out.
Yeah.
Well, I decided to do 30 days straight at the Ax Murder House. And I'm like, I'm delving into this. I'm going to figure out what is even haunting this place, because it just is so different every night. I was getting EVPs of Inez and the captain. Like, I don't know what this is. People are, in the meantime, Facebook messaging me, hey, I was at Malvern Manor last night. Your name came out on the Geoport. And the first couple, I thought, okay, sure. And just kind of rolled my eyes. Then it happened again and again and again. I'm like, I have to go to Malvern.
Yeah.
So I'm touring with Josh. He's like, the captain used to own this when it was a hotel. This is the room that Inez hung herself in. I'm like, I'm getting these names at Villisca, and people at Malvern are getting my name. So I'm kind of walking around. Josh just lets you free roam, and I'm down the nurse's wing. I see something corner of my eye, like peripheral vision, and I stop and look, and it's like the darker than dark. And I turn my head and close my eyes to readjust my vision, look again. Rushes at me. So I text Nick Groff. I'm like, dude, you got to get here right now. Like, this place is crazy. That place is so multi-layered. You have the cottage hotel, the old folks home, the mental home, and I honestly I don't think the ghosts of all three of those even know the other exists. I don't think they cohabitate together.
Right.
It's like you go one section, it's a whole different location. You go upstairs, it's a whole different location. You go there, the attic, it's a whole different location. I've even thought Gracie, the lady with the multiple personalities, maybe her multiple personalities are so strong, those are what's haunting this place. Her made up personalities, because I was down there one day, and down at the end of the nurse's wing is a white exit door. And I looked at it, and it looked like a child's stick figure jaggedly walking across the door. I was staring right at it. And my first thought was, dude, did Josh put in something in these brownies that he gave me earlier? Or like, what is happening? He swore he didn't. And I never forgot that. And I Googled it and I Googled it and I Googled it. And I finally found one website on like page 23 of paranormal stickmen. And the guy drew a picture of what he witnessed is exactly what I saw. That is the first time I saw something, then later found out it's a thing, like months later. I have no idea what's going on there, but it's crazy. It's insane. It's active. It's my home away from home. I love that place.
So, I mean, are there any cautionary tales you want to tell us before going there? If anybody is going to go there, I mean, are you going to experience something there? And if you are, do you think that it's malevolent?
I don't think there's anything there that you need to be like afraid of. Well, I mean, it's not for first timers, you know.
Yeah.
I get a lot of young teens down at the Axe House. It's like, this is our first investigation. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, Malvern's hardcore for sure. There is an entity comes out as one, calls itself one quite a bit. That's kind of to be wary of. But a lot of it's like Gracie, where their personalities. Hank, this old cadre old man that used to throw rocks at little kids. He's a crude and tells dirty jokes, and
Yeah.
his old Western shirts are still in the dresser, and he had a collection of fingernail clippings that he kept.
Oh my.
That's still in the dresser. So
why?
my advice would be have somebody on your team eat one of the fingernails just for science reasons to see what Hank does.
To give him special powers, right?
Yeah, I think so. I could never get Josh to do it, so
I don't know, man. I've done some pretty crazy dares. I might be your Huckleberry on that one.
Right? Just give me a little shot to chase it down, and
yeah.
I mean, the place is terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's something to be concerned of injury or bodily or mental harm, you know. But I would double check with Josh, because I know that the Axe House is constantly changing and morphing. Malvern could be doing the same. I'm not up to speed exactly day by day what happens.
Now, do you think with you guys' popularity at the Axe House, do you think that with the popularity and so many people cycling in and out, do you think that that is changing the dynamic of the house when it comes to paranormal activity?
Very well could be. I know the house 20 years ago is not the house it is today by any stretch of the imagination. I make a lot of Axe House purists mad with the comment of, I don't think the family's there whatsoever. Get mad at me, whatever. I've been there 20 years. I've done over 700 overnights alone, far more than anyone has. And I'm not trying to stroke my ego or nothing, but it's like, I feel like I know what's happening, you know?
Well, you've had the most time alone in this house. I mean, I would say there is not a single person who could be more credible than you. And you've investigated, you've done all this stuff. So, I mean, I don't think you're stroking your ego. I think that you're speaking truth, man. I mean, in a haunted house, if a guy is there, if it is haunted, and it is haunted, you know, a guy like you is there all the time. I think that there's no doubt about it that you would be the expert in what's going on.
Yeah, I'm there every day. I've been there almost every single day for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But I know that people come that become attached to the place, and they feel like they know what's happening, which great, you know. But a lot of time it differs, and they get mad at me when I say something. I'm just like, yo, like, I'm here every day. I hear every story from every overnight. Like, this is very typical. A guy by himself gets an EVP of a woman saying a woman's name. Calls me down. I listen to its Class A EVP. The name doesn't ring a bell historically. I go, I'll have to research. He goes, no, this was my girlfriend's name 33 years ago in Texas, who's still alive.
Wow.
To me, that's something going, I know everything about you, and I want you to know I know everything about you, which
Yeah.
is very concerning, you know.
Yeah, it is.
That's not something 9-year-old Catherine Moore would be doing, assuming we keep the same personality in death as we do life. Why would she do that? Why
Right.
would she shove a knife through a guy's chest in 2014?
Exactly.
You know, just I've never got anything from the kids. I've never got anything from Sarah. I've never got anything from Joe. Some people claim they get stuff from Ina and Lena. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not Ina and Lena. Maybe it's something else. Like, if you're something negative, what a better opportunity to like pull people in than pretending to be a little kid, a harmless little kid.
Exactly.
Oh, like Adam Kimmel from Resident Undead, first time he's there, he's like, I felt like a hug from one of the little kids. It was awesome. I'm like, sure that was a kid? And he sat there, he's like, dude. I'm like, sorry, but I don't think it was.
You know, every time I've ever been there, I've felt I felt like it feels like there's something going on, but I felt like it was pretty peaceful overall. Like I felt oddly at ease at this place. And I've lived in a haunting that it was uneasy all the time. And you know, that's what got me. But and I'm not saying, you know, I'm saying I feel there's stuff there, and we've gotten evidence ourselves. Like I posted not too long ago, you know, we with my paranormal team, we got an SLS hit in the attic. It was a very good SLS hit and a long S, and we actually asked it if it could wave or point at us. And I'll be damned if it wasn't pointing right at me, you know. And I know a lot of people will say that SLSs are garbage, and they'll say that about a lot of this stuff. I mean, I take it or leave it for what they're saying. I know that they think that we're all just a bunch of kooks who have this equipment and want something to happen. But for those of us who've been real haunting, and like yourself, and have been around it so much, we know the truth. We know that there's something that we can't explain, that it's out there. So what would you say to the skeptic out there who wants to shoot down all the equipment that we use in the field and say that it's all garbage? I mean, you gotta have, you're a colorful guy. You've got to have something.
Oh yeah, like the other day, I had the lady show up. She goes, "If anything's in that house, I'm going to be able to feel it, and I'll let you know." And I'm just like, "Oh, thank God you're here." Like,
Yeah.
20 years I've been wondering this question. Yeah. She walks in, comes out in 5 minutes. I didn't feel nothing. It's like, close the doors. You've just figured out like the biggest question that all humanity has ever wondered for the entire existence of humans, and you just answered it. Like, this is so amazing. Like, you're saying there's no such thing as ghosts because you know this, or because somebody told you that and you don't want your mind to go there? Like, science is science until it's proven wrong. You know, like, scientists have been wrong about a lot of things. Science can't figure out why cats meow. They know how they meow, but they can't clearly answer why. Cats have been around forever. We still don't know how the pyramids were built. We have the idea of the ropes and pulleys. Dude, have you ever tried dragging a cooler of beer across the sandbar?
I have, yeah.
Come on. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
you can only imagine how awful that would have been. And like, you know, it's something, man.
It's like, you can explain away anything. And long ago, I had this awesome video footage from my old flip phone. I mean, it was like the same megapixels as the toaster, basically, you know. But
yeah,
I was painting in the Axe house and I had a flashlight. The flashlight shut off. I was like, come on, guys, turn it on. As a joke, it turned on. So I pull out my little flip phone. This is before people were loosening the backs of it for the, you know, where it's kind of getting connection. It was fully on. I'm like, shut it off, shuts off. Turn it on, turns on. Dim it, dims. At the end of the video, about 2-minute video, I banged the flashlight on the floor like 5 times to show there's no loose connection or nothing. I thought it was a cool video. Somebody goes, fishing line. How is fishing line going to push a button on a, like, what?
What an explanation, right? What
Yeah.
what a debunk they made.
So at that point, I'm like, you could have Abe Lincoln's ghost in a Harvard laboratory answering questions for 10 years and still people would debunked, fake, CGI. Like, you're never going to, like, convince everybody. My thought is, if this is it, if there's no life after death and there's no aliens, no life anywhere else, it's just us, what a gigantic waste of time. Why?
Absolutely. What a bleak existence. What a useless amount of
Yeah, and the fact that you and I are having a conversation right now is incredible.
Yes, it is.
Like, going from our conception with our parents, which I don't want to think about, but like,
I don't know. I haven't seen your parents.
right? You and I are 1 in a billion.
Yeah.
And we made it here. And we were literally bags of bones and tissue and skin on a rock that's flying through the cosmos. It's insane to even think about. We're having a conversation. So the idea of a ghost is that much more insane. Like, yeah, a lot of I've worked with ghost hunters in at least 10 other countries, and their version, like, that's an American way of thinking. A lot of other countries are like, absolutely, there's spirits, like it's ingrained in their day-to-day life. You know, the idea of ghosts being blah 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 hogwash, that's an American thing typically. You know,
some of it is religious superstition too, and I'm not shooting down religion. I'm all for people in their religions, but some of it is a ton of religious superstition, especially with ghosts. They just want to boom, shoot it down, not happening. It's a demon, it's an angel, or it's nothing, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just like the biggest convincer for afterlife for me had nothing to do with the Axe House. One of my best friend's mothers was killed in a car crash. We take the kids and grandkids out to the farm where they lived, and they wrote letters on balloons filled with helium, let them off in the sky. It's called Letters to Heaven.
Yeah.
So one of the balloons got caught about 40 foot up in a tree branch. And I remember thinking, he sucks for whoever wrote that one, you know. And we go half a mile down the road, take a left, another half a mile down to their farmhouse, around the back of the farmhouse, up through a little door on the patio. We're having drinks, talking about how the mom used to love scaring the kids. Right then, that balloon come floating through the doorway, rested on a lawn chair. And my friend at the time didn't believe in anything, and I nudged her. I'm like, explain that. She goes, well, it's weird. It's like, well, I'm not a physics major, but it's filled with helium. It's going to go up. It's not going to go against the wind. Down against the wind, half a mile, take 2 sharp lefts up through a little doorway onto a lawn chair.
Yeah, what are the odds on that? You were talking about odds a moment ago. What are the odds on that? I mean, that's past the billions. That's zillions, trillion, whatever you want to. It's off the top.
If somebody wants to fill a balloon with helium and show me a video of it going against the wind in the opposite direction, then I'll shut up.
Yeah.
Until then, there's no explaining that at all. Like, that was incredible. And I'm like, that is your mother saying, hey, I'm here. Like, mind blowing.
There's just so much unexplained, man. You know, like I've been telling a story. You know, there's a story in my family about well, when my mom and my aunt were sleeping in the living room. This is in Evansville, Iowa. Their house was notoriously haunted in a small, but they woke up and they saw a figure sitting in the chair, like in the rocking chair, just sitting there. Looked like, you know, like it was an old lady. And, you know, they were like oddly at peace with it. So the next day, my aunt goes to my grandma, her mom, and she starts describing this figure. And she described, and granted, she was not at the funeral. She described to a T what it would have been her grandma had been wearing at her funeral. And to me, that's a pretty good. They didn't, you know, they weren't doing funeral pictures in my family. I know families do that, but she's never seen anything on this. She saw the ladies in there. She was moving around in the chair.
And like, I've done tours for every walk of life you can possibly imagine, rich, poor, whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone has some kind of ghost story or knows someone that has a ghost story. Let's dismiss 95% of it as, oh, imagine it. And it drives me nuts when people go, oh, you get in the house at night, you hear things, and you get freaked out. I'm not 6 years old. I've been in a dark house by myself before in my life,
Yeah.
But let's dismiss 95%. That still leaves 5% of something unexplainable is happening. And if you close your mind off to there's no aliens, there's no nothing, no life after death, what a bleak, depressing existence you have to not believe in anything. Like, nothing? You're so
wonder
smart.
what these minds are like. Like, what would it be like to be a mind like that? To be so closed off and so, I mean, yeah, just have that type of mentality. Like, they don't want to believe in anything supernatural, anything that could possibly happen outside of whatever their world is going on, their boring life. They don't want to believe in it. I don't know what that would be like.
I know scholars, college professors, people within the Catholic Church, all walks of life that have had experiences, but you're so much smarter and more knowledgeable than anyone on planet Earth that you know the answers of, nope. Oh, close the doors. He said no. Like, what? You don't know. You're just saying that.
Yeah.
Because you're jaded about something in your life and you don't want your mind to go there, is what it comes down to.
Maybe their girlfriend cheated on him with a ghost. You know what I mean? Like, that's
I've talked to people that think they're having affairs with ghosts, and that's a little concerning.
That is concerning. I've heard some stories from there's a guy that we investigate with. He's had some people do some pretty crazy claims about, a guy who's in a relationship with a ghost. It started with him, pleasuring himself in front of a mirror,
Okay.
and a ghost appeared and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh no.
Oh man.
People come up with some stuff, man.
Well, hey, like, whenever I feel bad about my life, I throw on Hoarders or My Strange Addiction. Yeah. It makes me feel a lot better about my life. And it reminded me of the My Strange Addiction where the guy's in love with his car.
That was my favorite one, man, where he's like on the ground and he's kind of like
making out with
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, get a hold of those tailpipes.
The dad, he confesses to the dad, and the dad's just like, wow. Like, you had to bring me on TV to say this? It's weird. So, like, you think you're having sex with a ghost, whatever, man. Do it. Do you.
Yeah, you do you on that.
I've spent many years in this field, going to some of the most haunted locations across America. I've never made out with a ghost, but hey, maybe I'm just ugly. I don't know.
There's always time. It's
right.
Hey there, fellow follicle enthusiasts. We have a sponsor that's about to make your beards go wild with delight. Brace yourselves for the one and only, the elegant Sasquatch. Are you ready to unleash your outer beast?
Cain, I've been waiting for this moment my entire bearded life. But tell me, how can the elegant Sasquatch help us awaken our inner beasts?
Oh, my hairy companion, the elegant Sasquatch has a treasure trove of beard products that will have your whiskers partying like it's the wildest night in the forest. From their aromatic beard oils to their beastly balms and buttery concoctions, they've got everything you need to make your beard sing with joy.
I can almost hear my beard belting out its own rendition of I Will Survive.
Your beard is in for a treat, my friend, and here's the best part. Every single product is handmade with love. Picture this, a team of Sasquatch artisans rocking their aprons and wielding their grooming tools, crafting beard goodies that will blow your mind. It's like a hairy fiesta of craftsmanship.
I can see those Sasquatch artists dancing with their combs and trimmers like they're on a hairy stage.
Absolutely. These bearded maestros pour their heart and soul into every bottle of beard oil, every tin of balm, and every tub of butter. They're like the Michelin-starred chefs of the beard world, creating culinary delights for your facial hair.
My beard is salivating in anticipation.
Well, get ready for your beard to do a happy dance because the Elegant Sasquatch has you covered from all angles. Their beard oils will make your whiskers as smooth as a buttery glide. Their balms will sculpt your beard into a masterpiece that would make Da Vinci jealous. Their butters will leave your beard softer than a cloud made of marshmallows, and their washes will cleanse your beard with a scent that's fresher than the waterfalls in the Rockies.
My beard is ready for the bearded revolution.
You can find the Elegant Sasquatch on Instagram and Facebook. They're ready to share their hairy wisdom, showcase their bearded customers, and entertain you with memes that will make your mustache curl with laughter.
I can't wait to join the hairy community and bask in the glory of their bearded memes.
So, folks, get ready to let your beards run wild. Unleash your outer beast and head over to Facebook and Instagram to find the Elegant Sasquatch. Trust me, your beard will thank you, and you'll be the envy of every bearded creature in the virtual forest.
Here's to smelling like a wild creature and embracing your inner Sasquatch.
Cheers to that, my fellow bearded brethren, and stay elegant with the Elegant Sasquatch.
Right, so we took a quick break and we had a nice message from my sponsor, the Elegant Sasquatch. For all you bearded men, I just happen to have a bearded gentleman right here. Maybe I can give him the hookup on those balms and all that stuff if he's interested in that. But the Elegant Sasquatch out of, I believe, around the Philly area. It's a great product. I wish I could grow a beard, but unfortunately, I'm like a grown child. So,
send me all the beard products you can. I would love to have stuff.
Well, I'll definitely talk to Chris, my sponsor, and see if we can make something happen, man. Then you can maybe you can give us like one of those testimonials sometime.
Oh, I'd pimp their stuff out all over the place.
Hell yes, man, that's a deal. So you've been we're here with Johnny Hauser once again. You guys probably have seen him from the ghost shows, from Villisca. If you go to Villisca Ax Murder House, you've seen him all over, and now you're seeing him on the podcast. We're talking about haunted locations. It's spooky month, the best month in the world. Every month is spooky for guys like us, but this month is the highlight of it. I guess you guys are pretty busy, aren't you, right now?
It's insane. I mean, it's almost too much, you know. I love October. My birthday's in October. I love the spooky season. I'm all about it. But like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I laugh about it being an amateur hour, you know, like the people that are kind of into spooky things, but kind of not, which guys like us are into it 24/7, 365. Exactly. Like, you know, it's great. It's great. Like I can't complain about what I do for sure.
Does the casual ghost adventure person, who's coming in to just get a little scare? I mean, do they come running out of there peeing their pants? What's the general consensus from some of the amateurs out there?
And it's like those kind of people I love. They're into it. You know, let's grab them over to the dark side. Come with us. You know,
come with us.
With me, this happened last year. Guy comes walking in dressed as a clown, and it's like 50-some-year-old dude on a Tuesday, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, here we go. He goes, I want to see all the blood. Where's the blood? This is stupid. I'm like, dude, 6 little kids were murdered. It's not cool or funny. Like, do you go to Auschwitz and crack jokes? Like, who are you? Yeah. And I kind of unloaded on him a little bit, and I felt bad, but he goes, I want to talk to your boss. So I finally got to do the, hi, here I am. Like, you don't like it, take your $10, get out, leave me a bad review on Yelp. I don't care. I care less, you know, but you're not going to make fun of 6 little kids being murdered, like weirdo. Like that kind of stuff. The people that think serial killers are cool, I don't like, you know, which I kind of got to back up a little bit because I'm very fascinated by Charlie Manson. I've always been interested in him. I've had Charlie Manson t-shirts. I own all Charlie Manson's albums. Like I have a brick from Sharon Tate's fireplace. It's a fine line, but like John Gacy was gross. Yeah. Gross, disgusting human being. He's not cool. No. You know, it's like those kind of people I just like,
There's a difference between cool and fascinating. Like guys like us, we're fascinated by the fact what would drive a person to be that awful, to do the things they do. But we're not, we're not sitting around going, man, those guys are just the coolest people that ever lived. I mean, they're awful. They were monsters. And I think that's more the fascination that's cool to us than it is the actual person, right?
And like, this is gross. But I just got to say, I know a guy who collects pubic hair from serial killers and sells it. I'm like, that is sick, man. Like, that's just, there's nothing cool about it's gross. Like super gross. Like these guys are disgusting human beings, you know.
How do they prove it? Like, how do you get a pubic hair authenticated?
They write them in prison.
Oh, okay.
And then like it's it's all fun and games till you're a victim of one of them.
Yeah.
Then it's not so cool. But like with Manson, I've seen many interviews with for me, the image of Charlie Manson. Like I recognize from a young age that news media is kind of making this guy to be out the worst of the worst. These followers knew what they were doing. I'm sure they were drugged up and they were hippie cults and blah blah blah. But I've watched videos of Charlie Manson behind the scenes where he's like talking normal, like, "Hey, where are you from? Oh, I was there too. Oh, what Charlie do you want? You want the crazy Charlie or do you want the scary Charlie?" Or it's a character.
Yeah.
And it's like the people that really can't differentiate the character from real life are the ones that are kind of concerning.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what do you think about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I love that movie myself. I love the depiction of how they did it and how it's spoiler alert, the ending is not the ending that happened in regular life, but it's just an entertaining movie, great actors. I love the movie myself. What do you think about it?
I thought it was great too. I was a little upset with the idea of Bruce Lee not being the total badass that I thought he was.
Like, they kind of painted him as a pussy,
Yeah. Like that was a bigger letdown than anything.
Yeah.
But it's neat how they switched the Manson narrative to the different outcome, and it's Hollywood. It's stories. Make a different story. And going back to Adam Kimmel, I mentioned him earlier with the Resident Undead. When he first came to the Axe House, they did this thing called a Ripple in Time, where they would go to locations, reenact what happened. So, say at the Axe House, they come out, the killer comes out with an axe. As he comes up to hit the dad, he pauses. And then the dad gets up and beats up the killer, and it changes everything. And they just pause and wait for EVPs or anything. It's like, that's brilliant,
Right.
Just go with weird scenarios and weird theories and try weird things. I love that.
Now, I'm not trying to crap on it, but what was with the Villisca Ax Murder horror movie that came out? I mean, because my kids and I were like, okay, then we're starting to watch it, and we're like, oh wait, this is like not good, like, and I watch a lot of terrible horror. I mean, my favorite movies are Friday the 13th. I mean, I've been obsessed. Right. Trust me, they're not blockbuster hits, in terms of like great acting is what I should say. They are hits, but well, I mean, what the hell was with that, man? I mean, did they not have permission to do anything?
And I'm a big B-level horror movie fanatic, like trauma movies.
As am I.
Yeah. Toxic Avenger, Poltergeist, Attack of the Killer Chickens. This is like, I love the cheesy, but like this came out on Netflix, and I'm seeing it for the first time, going, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Axe Murders of Villisca. Like, huh? I had no idea about it. No clue. And I watched it and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like the history is not even right. The house does not look anything like the house.
No.
The only saving grace of the whole thing was going back to Napoleon Dynamite. The guy that played the tour guide in the movie was Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
From Napoleon Dynamite. So technically, Uncle Rico is playing me in a movie, which It's pretty awesome.
Which is pretty,
you know?
yeah. Well, they kind of went all in on their theory on what happened with it, you know, with the preacher but man, it was just, I don't know. I mean, there were some aspects of it. If you just watch it as a horror movie, I'm like, okay, I dig it to a certain, but then just knowing about the history and reading books about it and everything, man, they just did it such a disservice. They were just capitalizing on the idea of the Villisca Ax Murder House without actually accomplishing anything.
So I paused it at the end of it and I called up our guys. I'm like, is this even legal?
Yeah.
Like, I've spent 20 years making the Axe House not cheesy. Then all of a sudden this comes out and they're like entertainment lawyers and stuff, or, you know, it's shady. It's frowned upon, but that's why there's so many Amityvilles. It's a town name.
Yeah.
You can't copyright a town name, you know. It's I know the people that did it. They've been to the Axe House 2 or 3 times from Los Angeles. They had a YouTube channel with billions of subscribers, decided to make a horror movie, which, like, good for you guys, do it. But I reached out to them. I'm like, why didn't you get with me with the history? Like, the history is way off. And people love I don't want to say love, but they know the history of the Axe House.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you watched it and you're like, yeah, that's BS. That's not what happened. My 12-year-old daughter's like, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. Yeah. It's like, I wish they would have got with me. And they're like, well, we didn't want to film it in the Axe House because we thought that'd be disrespectful. And they had pure intentions.
Yeah.
Kind of missed the mark a lot. You know,
the house, I just assumed that was the thing. Like, maybe they didn't want to do that at the house, but I just thought, wouldn't you think to consult Johnny or somebody about the history a little bit and just get it kind of right, you know? Because the story in itself is interesting enough if you need something to be entertained with on the history of the Ax Murder House. But I mean, they just took it in their direction. I mean, now we're giving them a great plug. Luckily, I'm not Joe Rogan.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about that.
There is a guy that I'm really good friends with. He did Haunting in Connecticut 1 and 2, Annabelle, Flatliners remake, like legit Hollywood dude.
Yeah.
Who's been down to the house so many times. And he's like, I want to do something on this. I want to do something on this. And Lionsgate, I guess, shies away from kids being murdered. You know, so they're kind of with that. I'm like, you don't need to even show it. You can just allude to it.
Exactly.
But then he worked with Ron Howard on a movie. And he's like, now that I got the Ron Howard in, maybe I just pitch this as a heartfelt story of what happened instead of a ghost story.
Yeah.
Like, that would be cool.
That would be
cool. So eventually, hopefully, there'll be something that comes out that's big, that's got a budget over $20.
We can only hope so. There was somebody who was traveling years ago. I saw him at the Joyo Theater in Lincoln, and they claimed to have the axe, and they had like I don't know if it was a documentary of Villisca and possibly a book behind it and everything. So I went there. I mean, was that a credible thing? Like, do you recall anything like that going on, or who it was?
You're probably talking about the Rundles with the Villisca documentary that was made years ago. It's like very much a Ken Burns PBS documentary.
Yeah.
Really good. And they had possession of the axe for a long time. However, that axe sat at City Hall in Villisca for years and years. I show up one day to pay my water bill. The axe is gone. I'm just like, what happened to the axe? They go, oh, so-and-so traded it to so-and-so for a box of chocolate-covered cherries.
What?
And I was so dumbfounded. I'm just like, okay. And I turned around, then I stopped. I'm like, don't you think it belongs to Montgomery County Sheriff Department? It's a murder weapon and an unsolved crime.
Right.
Who decides they own it? And they said, the Villisca Historical Society owns it, which does not exist. I would be in it. I would be part of that society. I'd be the president at this point. I've seen and held that axe. It does not match the coroner's report of the axe. The axe was an old junk axe full of nicks and chips that Joe bashed his coal up with. You wouldn't use your good axe for bashing coal. It
Right.
was in such a state that Rossmore, his brother, took one look and said, "Yeah, that's my brother's axe." The axe that was used in the Kelly trials has the exhibit marks. That's the one at City Hall. It has no nicks or chips in it. It's a brand new old axe. So there's a lot of discrepancy of if that's even the actual axe. If it is, the coroner's lying about the description. Why would he lie?
Yeah.
You know, so Sheriff Jackson took the axe home with him. He did talks around the state of Iowa for 5 years trying to spread awareness that axe was everywhere. And the local lore is he got caught in a snowstorm, wired back to the hotel, keep his luggage, give the axe to the Freemasons. He'll buy a new one till he gets that one back. And the thought is the new one was used in the Kelly trials. Because
Oh,
there's no DNA or fingerprints as a prop to scare the jury, basically.
yeah. Was that not the most mishandled crime scene in the history of crime scenes, do you think, or is it just the way it was?
Terrible. In all fairness to the people in town, they had no idea how to handle anything of this magnitude. The cop was a farmer a year before, decided he was going to be the law, so all he dealt with was, oh, so and so's chickens are in my yard. Something like this. They had no idea. And in fact, this is what made Iowa put in place early version of DCI that would handle this stuff from here on out. So it was like the last of the locally investigated crimes in the state of Iowa.
Have you been approached by people like cold case people all the time who think that they can help you solve it and go through, I don't know how they go through DNA and all, but yeah, they think that they can solve it completely for you?
The last time I got contacted by a show from London that wanted to
Mhm.
use modern forensics to solve cold cases, I'm like, cool. Finally, I love the ghost shows. I'm a ghost guy,
Yeah.
but I'm also a true crime guy and I like facts. I'm like, here we go. Let's do this. They wanted to exhume the bodies. And I'm like, it's been 100 years. They're buried in wooden caskets. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Fragments of bone, if that. Like, they go, well, it'd be good for the show. I go, what? They go, it'd be good for the show. I go, 6 little kids were murdered.
Yeah.
I don't care about your show. Like,
Right.
I hung up the phone. I'm like, no. Right there, that tells me everything you're about.
Yeah.
And I'm very selective on the ghost shows. I'm very selective on what is filmed at the house. I don't want it to be a circus. I don't want it to be cheesy and corny. Like, it's terrible what happened.
Exactly. Can we all just remember that all of us, and I say that all as in all of us collectively, that we're going to a place where real people died, where tragedy happened, where kids were killed. Can we all just kind of, I know you respect the place, but for the rest of us, and I'm talking to the ghost hunter like myself, like, can we have a little respect for the place? Can we go in there and not rip our shirts off like certain people in the paranormal community and flex our abs and scream at
I've done that a time or two.
oh yeah, of course, yeah, me too, yeah. But can we just respect the dead a little bit? I mean, I know I've been to the cemetery a couple times only out of respect for the people who are there, to pay my respects and say how truly sorry I am for what happened. And it does suck. I mean, does it piss people off in the town that this happens? Like, do you get any blowback? This is something I always wanted to ask you. Do you get any blowback from the city on this? Or are they happy because of the tourism that it brings?
When I first came here 20 years ago, I got blowback.
Mhm.
And I get it. I totally get it. I hate this place more than anyone does. Like, I
Yeah.
wish it wasn't. And that's what keeps me at this house. Because I know every day when I walk in, I'm like, please, God, let me do this the way it should be done. Honor, dignity, respect, enlighten young minds to possibly get into law enforcement, stop a crime from, like, I'm very mindful of all that stuff. Um, but history has to be talked about. Case
Yeah.
in point, My daughter comes home from school. Some boy wrote on her arm. She had a swastika on her hand. And I flipped out. I'm like, what the blank is that doing on your hand? She had no idea what it was. She had no clue. She's a sophomore.
Wow.
They are not being taught the Holocaust in school.
That's disgusting. Yeah, I can't believe it. That's wild. I believe you. I'm saying it's unbelievable that they're not teaching our history to our kids.
Like, history is not pleasant, people. History's hard. History sucks. The Holocaust was horrible. Nazis are bad. You have to be reminded. I was also at a historical museum once, and there was a SS Nazi uniform on display. Some guy's losing his mind about it. I'm like, it wasn't aliens. This is us doing this to each other. Sometimes you have to be slapped in the face with that imagery to remember it and make sure it never, ever happens ever again.
Yeah.
And that's my view on history. When I moved here, nobody in town talked about this. Nobody, it was one of those, never talk about it, ignore it, it'll go away. It never happened. That's a slap in the face to the people that died. This town should never forget what happened to these poor little kids. They deserve to laugh and have fun and get married and have their own kids. They're robbed of basic human rights and things that we love. We should never stop talking about this. And that's my personal view on history.
Well, it's the if you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been scenario. I mean, we won't know how to we're setting ourselves up for a future of uncharted territory because we're not teaching history. People are ignoring science. People,
right?
It's sad how our culture has become this train wreck where we ignore simple, like, I mean, I know people, and I don't know, maybe we can get into it. I know people who, flat earthers. I've heard it all. I've heard all this stuff. I don't want to go there. I mean, if you're a flat earther, I respect you, Johnny, but I personally,
not at all.
I think the earth is shaped like a hot dog is what I tell people. I think that makes more sense to me.
And if the earth was flat, we would just say it's flat. What's the conspiracy there?
Exactly.
What are we hiding there? Like,
I don't know. What's the smoking gun on that deal? Like, why?
Yeah, what's the end game on this whole thing?
I don't get it. And they really go in hard on it. And sometimes you watch these videos and man, it's really convincing. Like the worst is like if you're on TikTok, you start to curate your TikTok towards these and you get so angry. And then pretty soon, like every video that comes up is a flat earther video. And you just want to spike your phone against the concrete. But man, it drives me nuts.
And I'm all about out there thinking, but it's just like, I was just listening to a podcast on this earlier today. It's funny you say that. And it's like, well, the planes with their trajectory, they don't allow for a curvature because the earth is so much bigger than that tiny little airplane. If you were a giant in space, your finger touching the earth, it would be as smooth as a cue ball because you're that much bigger than the earth and the earth is that much bigger than a plane. Of course they adjust, but it's minute because they're so little. But anyway, yeah, I get it. I just listened to a podcast that was going on about the Villisca Ax Murder House name is so offensive and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you know what? If you would just ask, you would get the answer to why it's called the Villisca Ax Murder House. When Darwin started this, he called it J.B. Moore home. I have pictures of the sign that said home of J.B. Moore. Yeah. He printed up 6,000 flyers. He got 5,599 calls of what's the home of J.B. Moore. And everybody around here called it the Ax Murder House. People in Villisca called it the Ax Murder House. People in neighboring towns called it the Ax Murder House. It's called the Ax Murder House because that's what people around here call it, is the Ax Murder House.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's what it's known as. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I get your argument. We're not trying, the name is not trying to discredit what happened to these poor little kids.
Yeah.
And I listened to this podcast and it was almost like a slap in my face. Like, and I know these guys. I'm just like, I don't run this place like this. Like, if you have a complaint about it, voice it to me and I'll tell you why. I don't like the name. I don't
Right.
like the sign. I don't like what happened, but that's what happened. And you have to be faced with unpleasant things in your life because you know what? Life is unpleasant and the real world sucks. And
Exactly.
it's not unicorns and rainbows. And if you think it is, you're in for a big awakening, you know?
It certainly isn't, man. But people are going to complain no matter what, especially on a house where there's tourism and they're in there. But let them complain. People need something to complain about. Another
Mm-hmm.
house that I wanted to talk to you about was I went to Atchison, Kansas with my family, and we investigated at the Sallie house. And I know that I've talked to you about the Sallie house, but for people who don't know, I mean that place isn't it. That place has got a feel to it, man. Like of all
Yeah.
the haunted places I've been to, that place definitely has a charge to it. And it's not the haunted house effect. It's not the fun house feeling. It's like, man, as soon as you go in, you just feel like there is something off about this house. I mean, what do you feel
Right.
about that place?
Exact same. Like that place, I've had hair burned off my leg. I got an attachment from that place that took about a year to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
I was just down there about a month ago, and we're all taking a break outside. It's a Tuesday at midnight. It's dark. It's foggy. It's a big long sidewalk with a lone street lamp, and we're just having fun talking. And I see a figure appear out of the darkness. And my buddy Tim, I'm like, Tim, coming up behind you, some weirdo or something. Full on Catholic monk with the robe, the hood, the rope around the waist, walks by us, makes no eye contact, says nothing, does the blessing himself with the cross, disappears into the darkness. Just like, man, that was a scene out of The Exorcist, and I'm leaving. They're
Yeah,
like,
no,
what?
thank
I'm
you on
like,
that. Yeah.
I
Holy
go, I don't know what that meant, but big guy up there, for once, I'll listen to you. I'm gone. Like, that's my side, you
yeah.
know? That place is bad news
It
for
is,
sure.
man. I didn't believe the physical attack stuff, and I'm not doing this. I'm going to tell you this. I'm not doing this for dramatic purposes, but I went there with my family. My family is a family of ghouls. My wife and kids. Wish I hadn't taken the kids to the Sallie house, but we did, right? We did an
Right.
hour there, and in the hour time that I was there, I started to feel a burning on my neck. And I have a video out now, and people can pick it apart all they want. I don't really care. I
Whatever.
started feeling a burning on my, so I go to my wife and I started asking her about, like, is there something on my neck? My neck is burning. And she said it's starting to get red. Okay. So it continually gets red. We wait about 3 hours. We've already left there. We go to Kansas City, blah, blah, blah. And 3 hours later, the redness is gone, and I have 3 scratches on my neck. And I
Wow.
don't, it's so strange. I have been touched in a haunted house that we live. I've been grabbed by my ankle and pulled backward, but I've never been scratched before. And that
Hmm.
really left me shook on that place. Like, man, there must be something going on there. And I don't want to, I don't want to sound like the dramatic podcast host or this and that, but I can tell you from my experience, and I posted the pictures on the video that we put out, the before, as it was read, and then the after. I mean, they're very real. And I know I didn't scratch myself. There's always that doubt, you tell yourself,
Yeah.
like subconsciously, maybe I started scratching and everything, but man, it was I felt this intense burning, just like you talked about the leg hair burning on you. There's something weird
Hmm.
going on there, man.
Yeah, and like the idea of the Sallie ghost having the appendix rupture and the doctor operated with no anesthesia and she died. There's no records of any Sallies anywhere, any of that.
Yeah.
Like the story I heard was a lady doing black magic down the basement, which makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the Pickmans that used to live there came to the Axe house. Oh, geez, probably 20 years ago. And Tony walks in, and first thing he says is, "Whatever's here was at my house." I'm like, what? And he explained where he lived. I'm like, oh, I saw you on sightings when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Same address as 508 2nd Street. The Sallie rendition that Tony drew is spitting image of Catherine Moore. Tony walks into the downstairs bedroom, starts hacking and coughing, throws up a piece of bacon, raw bacon. where the bacon was found in the Axe Murder House. Like, there's
Wow.
ties to all this stuff.
Yeah.
What it is, I don't know. I don't think we've even come close to figuring it out, but this place, Sallie House at Malvern Manor, the Erling, Iowa exorcism. I mean, a lot of these places are all connected somehow. Down, we have a Lizzie Borden connection.
Really?
Like, Lizzie Borden's uncle lived 20 minutes from here. And
you can't make this stuff up. Yeah.
So, like, when Lizzie's stuff went down, he was up there. He was a suspect for a while. When this happened, detectives are like, yeah, we know exactly who did this. Tracked him down. He died 6 months before this happened. He's buried in Hastings, which is 5 minutes from Malvern. It's like
That's
6 degrees of separation on all this stuff.
What if it was all connected? What if all these massive haunted locations were connected in some way or intertwined? It'd be hard to prove. I'm sure, I know some of the bigger shows have tried different things, doing investigations at the same time and then trying to but I don't know, man. There's something to be said about that. It's a supernatural world though. And I would say, just us talking about it here is good for paranormal because there's still that stigma of we're all nuts, we're all I've heard the tinfoil hat thing so much, I might as well wear a tinfoil hat.
Right. So Reverend Kelly said a shadow gave him the weapon, told him to kill, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
1 week after this, a shadow passes in front of the priest in Erling, Iowa, causes him to crash, starts an Erling, Iowa exorcism. Ronald DeFeo said a shadow gave him the weapon, told him to kill, felt like he's led beyond his own control. That's the Amityville case. 6 people killed with a rifle, no one wakes up. Villisca, 8 people killed with an axe, no one wakes up. I mean, it's this thing after thing after thing with so many of these places.
Yeah. So I guess I would be doing the listener a disservice if I didn't ask, what's your opinion on who do you think did it? Who done it?
I used to say Carol Baskins, but 2020 has been a long time ago and people have forgotten about Tiger King, so that's not really funny anymore.
It is to me.
I thought so. Last time I said it, somebody goes, "Who's Carol Baskins?" I didn't hear about this suspect. I'm like, never mind.
Never mind. It went way over your head.
Yeah. So, of all the suspects, Reverend Kelly, the schizophrenic minister, has way more check marks than anyone by his name. He's schizophrenic, hated children. And it's like, how do you hate kids? Like, do you hate balloons and happiness? Like, what?
Yeah.
Of all the suspects, we know he was 2 blocks up the street. He told people on the train before they found the body, turns in a bloody shirt to be dry cleaned, comes back inserting himself into the investigations like he's a detective. I found an old detective note in South Dakota where this lady wakes up to use the restroom in the middle of the night. Kelly's sitting at her table. She has no idea who this guy even is. He's just sitting there and she's like, "Hi, can I help you?" "Oh, the killer in Villisca made a big mistake," and blah, blah, blah. Starts going all weird with it. And how the killer has a compulsion and he can't help it. Therefore, we should all pity this poor guy that did this. I'm like, who's going to say we should pity a guy that killed 6 kids with an axe? Like, none of my friends. So then 2 weeks ago, I had an old lady that's a local in town. She pulled in my driveway. She goes, "Did you know so-and-so?" He's a 100-and-some-year-old guy in town. Like, I don't really know him. She goes, "Well, he's honest to a fault and he'd never tell a lie and he straight shoots everyone. That's just who he is." He was an elder with the Presbyterian Church most of his adult life. She said that he told her 30 years ago that they got a letter in the mail right before Kelly died from New York City, which is where Kelly lived. And it was from Kelly confessing to the murders to the Presbyterian Church. And they said they burnt the letter because they didn't want to cause a divide with the Presbyterian name, which makes sense because right after the murders, Presbyterian kids weren't allowed to play with Methodist kids because the Moores went to one church, F.F. Jones went to another church who was a suspect. So there was a huge divide that finally tapered off. They burnt this letter so they wouldn't reignite that divide again.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many stories with Kelly. And it just makes the most sense. Like, he probably went for a walk and a shadow probably in his mind told him to kill people. And he's like, there's no breaking and entering, nothing stolen. So you're a baby killer, but you're not a thief. Morals, like what?
Yeah.
They talked to hired hitmen in prison, thinking a hired hit. All those guys said, good luck finding somebody that's going to hurt kids or women. There's a code in that element,
Yeah, there
things
definitely is.
you just don't do. And Kelly, at the time, when he confessed to it, he wanted to be promised to be put in a mental home. And they said, we ain't making you no promises. And then he recanted his confession. The reason he did that, because he didn't want to go to jail, because he knew if he went to jail, he'd be murdered for killing little kids. And that was the whole thing with that. He talked about God telling him to kill just like God told him to burn buildings in Nebraska. They later found in Sutton, Nebraska, a bunch of buildings were burned in a town where he was living and preaching. That was an unsolved crime. He just confessed to that. So, I mean, there's just so much surrounding this guy.
It's all pointing to him, or a lot of it is pointing to him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. What was the church that's not too far? That's not the church that they went to, correct? The church that's just down the street from the house. Was that there at that time? Is that a newer church?
So there's a white church. I'm in Mary Peckham's house right now, which was the neighbor that found him. In fact, this is her bedroom that she slept in. There's a church right next to us. It's not that one. It's one block up from there, and it's still here.
And was that church there at that time? Because I jokingly always tell my friends, like, how crappy of a church was it that they wouldn't walk, 2 houses down the block to go. Right.
That church was not here at the time.
Oh.
But like the parsonage where Reverend Kelly stayed that night is still here. Yeah. Still in town. Somebody lives there right now. And I've inquired to them about weirdness and ghosts and stuff. And it's a typical small town full of farmers. I don't believe in that hogwash.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, are there any other haunted locations in Villisca, or are you not allowed to say?
Oh yeah, for sure. So there's no Villiscas on planet Earth. It's Villisca, which is Meskwaki for evil spirit.
Mm-hmm.
The drugstore used to sell a cold elixir that was named 666. I can send you a picture of the ad from the old newspaper. I took a picture because I'm like, nobody's going to believe this. This is too much, Right outside of town, a guy woke up shortly after the Axe murders. He woke up, ate breakfast with his family, went out, grabbed a club, clubbed him to death, sat on his front porch, and proceeded to try and saw his own head off. A guy stabbed and killed his wife in the town square, screaming in German, "She must die." A woman was quilting, burnt to death. How do you burn to death quilting? Like, when I was a little kid, quicksand, spontaneous human combustion, like those were very real fears of mine that I've realized we don't really deal with as adults. I thought it'd be more of a thing than what it is. But I investigated a house about 2 houses from the Axe house. Family moved in. They had a special needs kid who decided to move his bedroom down to the basement. Big deal. Well, they moved their mother in. And the mother is very religious. She carried her Bible everywhere. Pretty soon she's locking herself in her room. She put the Bible under her bed, said, I don't need that anymore. She's cussing the family out. You assholes. I ain't eating with you mother blankers, And so I investigate. Not much happens, but I'm down in the basement where the special needs kid had made his bedroom. He's got a notebook on his bed. I pick it up. I look in it. Very ornate Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt there, Johnny. I guess I lost you. I don't think it's the ghost of Christmas past or anything. I think it was just me being an idiot on my part with technology and everything. But you were talking about haunts and other things going on in Villisca.
Right. And so we were talking about this house that I investigated and the special needs kid. And so I'm down in his room in the basement where he decided to live at the time. And I pick up this notebook, and it's very ornate, like Edgar Allan Poe poetry about hell and demons and this and this. And I tell the mom, I'm like, I'd be more worried about what your son's writing in this notebook. And she read it and she looked at me and she goes, he doesn't know what a rhyme is. I'm like, what? He goes, he doesn't know what rhyming means. Like mentally, he's at like a first grader.
Oh, yeah.
So the last time I seen them, he was running down the street in his sweatpants, no shirt, no socks, is the middle of a blizzard. She's chasing off after him. They're gone. Another family moves in. They last a month. They're gone. Another family moves in, and I'm watching these people. At this point, the house is on my radar now. Very nice family, mom, dad, kids. The wife goes down to the bar in Villisca, jumps up on the bar, bites a chunk out of some dude's arm, skin, the whole works. She gets hauled off to the nut house. He ends up moving. It's like, what is happening here? You know, and nobody stays in that house. I watch people move in, move out, move in, move out. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens in this town for sure.
Well, it's nothing. Hopefully, nothing will ever happen again like the Villisca Ax Murder House.
Right.
You would never wish that on anybody, especially I can only imagine just going to the cemetery and looking at the gravity of those graves lined up like that and everything. And then it's just, man, it's so sad, and it's such a terrible tragedy for the town and everything. It is interesting that this was like the major story that kind of took everybody off the Titanic tragedy, honestly, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was just telling my daughter we went out to go eat tonight, and next town over, there's a person buried in the cemetery who was one of the victims of the Titanic. So, I mean, it hit like 5 minutes from here, you know, 5 miles from town. There was somebody that died on the Titanic, and it did take the headlines off of that. It was such a huge thing.
Yeah. It's so wild, man. Well, Johnny, I could talk to you for hours. I hope to continue to talk to you at the house and everything, but I know everyone's time is important, and you've given me more than enough time. I really do appreciate you being on the show. I really do mean that you're probably honestly, the biggest celebrity I've had so far. And I know you laugh, but per capita, you're on quite a few things, man, and rightfully so. But thank you so much for being on the show, man. It's been a privilege.
Absolutely. Let's do a part two where we get into UFOs, cryptids, and then
Man,
we can do a part three with conspiracies. Let's make this a multi-part thing.
Yes, I would, dude. You don't have to ask me. We can do it as much as you want. Let's plan on that, though, man. Let's talk about
for sure.
I can get weird with people, trust me, and I feel we could get weird together.
Oh, for sure. Let's do it.
All right, man. Well, thank you for your time, and everybody. Is there anything before we go that you would like to promote, or put that you're going to have coming up that you'd like people to look for?
No. Just follow me on Facebook. Things come up, they change, they go away, they come up again. I'll post anything cool. That's happening in my world for sure. But keep listening to your podcast. Follow my Facebook page. Just to keep tabs on what's happening.
Absolutely. You'll find him at the Villisca Ax House. So go see him, everybody. Thank you again, man. It's been an honor, and I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care, man.
Yep.